Says it's live.
We live.
Are you in the live bit?
I am. I'm going through all of them and latest. That's it, isn't it?
It's going to be the second week in January. I haven't got a final date yet. I'm going to get that sorted tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Great. No. That sounds first rate. Okay, I hope you confirm it with perhaps tomorrow. We're here because all of the kids are with in-laws this year. So it's the in-laws. So it's just the two of us. Which is like this getting in. I went through the booze company. I went through the booze company. I actually had.
Okay, good evening, members. Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the full council on the 15th of December. Can I first of all just check, are there any apologies?
I've got apologies from Councillor Marie, who has a work commitment, and Councillor Green, who has a personal commitment.
Thank you very much. Tonight's agenda is alarmingly slim, so I'm hoping that will be reflected in the time it takes to get through the business, but we'll see. I just have a couple of things I want to mention before we get into the main part of the meeting. So this evening's meeting is an extraordinary meeting. We agreed as a council back in February the calendar for this year. It didn't include a meeting in December. But as we are all aware, there's been a number of staffing matters, and that has significantly contributed to this evening's meeting. Councillor Carter.
Oh, yes, thank you. I was just wondering if we're going to have a minute's silence for we've lost one of our colleagues.
Have we? Okay.
Yeah, indeed. Just to inform anybody that knew Councillor Jeremy Watts, who was mayor a few years before Jeff, I believe, passed away.
2013.
Or was it 2013? So, but
Okay,
he
well,
passed away. I wonder if
yes,
we
we
could
will
just
do
have a
that.
minute's
We'll do that.
silence.
Yeah, we'll do that in a couple of minutes. Okay, so I think it's really important. Sorry, where I was. It's really important that decisions around HR are brought to the full council. I think there's been some examples in the past when that hasn't always happened. So I won't really apologise for tonight's meeting. It's essential that all councillors have the opportunity to contribute to appointments and similar matters relating to HR. Now, second thing I wanted to mention, members might be aware of an incident that took place in Swale Borough Council last week at Swale House. Members there were in an all-council meeting, but they were subjected to an unacceptable level of abuse and intimidation from a group of people in the public gallery. Damage was also caused to the building when the meeting took place. The key thing, it's really important that debates, particularly at parish council level, which involves volunteers, are allowed to happen in a safe and respectful environment. And that's the councillors, staff, and also members of the public as well. Many mayors and leaders across Kent are releasing a statement, it might have already happened today, on the behaviours at that meeting. It's a non-political statement, but it's reinforcing the fact that we expect to be treated in the same way we would treat others as well. I've put my name to that statement and it will be available publicly, probably already this evening. But I've also had messages from some of those present at the meeting in Swale, and they've indicated the level of security at the meeting was poor. And taking account of that, I've spoken to the town clerk this morning, and I've asked that if she and the property manager can review a number of things. One is the security and the procedures in terms of our meetings. should there be an incident at any point in the future, that we have clear understanding of how we should behave in that circumstance. I've also asked if you could review the measures in place for those who work in the building to ensure they're not put at risk at any time undertaking their normal duties. And finally, I've asked for the security measures for the museum, which obviously includes artefacts as well, is similarly also reviewed. And I've requested a report to the respective finance committees is made by February. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Benson.
Thank you. Just to say briefly that I do know Councillor Hannah Perkin, who was speaking at the time, and she has confirmed the level of disruption, including the throwing of eggs and so on. And I thoroughly welcome what you just said, and I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you very much. Okay, now if we could observe a minute of silence as requested by Councillor Carter.
Should stand.
Yeah, good idea. Okay. Thank you, members. Take a seat.
I will notify anybody when I get to hear about funeral arrangements if anybody wants to attend. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the main agenda. So, item 2, declarations of interest. That's to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from councillors in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda tonight. Are there any? Well, you were keying yourself up, Councillor. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 3, and that's public participation. This is a 20-minute session that we put aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of the business on the agenda and other matters if time permits. Do we have any requests?
Got one from Ms. Young.
I'm going to stand at the top because I can't throw my voice very well. Good evening. I watched the HR committee meeting where the role of the museum manager was discussed, and I noted concerns raised about the status of the Guildhall archives. I share those concerns. Therefore, I was confused as to why the archives are not explicitly mentioned within the proposed job description, and fear that omitting responsibility for the archives may compromise delivery of that function. We heard in the HR meeting that the task of moving and cataloguing the archives, originally scheduled to take up to 18 months, had already taken 3 years and is likely to require a further 2 years for completion, despite it having been determined to be a matter of urgency in March 2022, when the project was authorised. As several councillors here today may not have been following council proceedings at that time, I'd like to share a few quotes from the relevant documents as follows. Reference 080322 notes the resolution to move the Guildhall archives to the Undercroft in response to an urgent requirement to rehouse the archives to a more suitable, secure environment. Report from the archivist states, at present time, the archival documents kept at the Guildhall are housed in the attics where they are subjected to drastic changes in temperature and humidity throughout the year. There have also been instances of pigeons gaining access and vermin being found in the attic. Water ingress from the roof is always a concern, as is fire. Being housed in 4 rooms makes supervision difficult, and the access via winding stairs and uneven flooring makes it a considerable health and safety risk to staff, volunteers and visitors. The vast majority of the Sandwich archives are kept at the Kent Archives. However, the well-being of the remaining documents has to be of uppermost importance, and if they cannot be housed appropriately, then they should be removed to the archives in Maidstone. This situation has been allowed to exist for far too long. It is of great importance that the council takes immediate action to rescue the documents in its care from these woeful conditions. To safeguard and preserve the archives, the documents must be either moved into more suitable accommodation within the Guildhall or transferred to the Kent Archive. There followed a discussion on the limitations of the hub and a request to relocate the archives to the Undercroft. The report goes on to say, once the documents are moved, the work of examining each document, assessing any conservation needs, and then cataloguing onto the already purchased archival standard software, MODES, can be undertaken. It is anticipated that the relocation and cataloguing will take up to 18 months, during which time the archive would be closed to the public unless a document was urgently required. Once the archive is running smoothly, it's anticipated that exhibitions can be staged showing off the gems of the collection. When we can show that we are acting to an international standard, it will be possible to bring back some of the treasures held on the town's behalf at Maidstone for viewing by residents and visitors alike. The archive exhibitions would be a suitable addition to the visitor offering made by the museum. The following month, April 22, resolutions were unanimously agreed, reference 090422, to 1. Work on relocating the Guildhall archives to be commissioned as quickly as possible per the quotations received. 2. To obtain quotes from removals companies to move the heavy cabinets. 3. For the caretakers to assist with the relocation. And 4. For the appointment of 2 volunteer archivists as joint honorary archivists, unpaid roles, with permission for them to proceed with the relocation. These resolutions were passed on the basis of a report that listed the necessary quotes and highlighted that the archive is to meet national archival standards, that roller racking is the international standard for archives worldwide, and that once the building works have been completed and the racking installed, the archive can be moved from the attic. The honorary archivists would be responsible for the transfer of the archives. They will also, at a later date, be responsible for the recruitment and training the team of archive volunteers to inspect and catalogue each item. And they would liaise with the museum curator with regard to exhibitions. And when the archives are reopened, they will undertake the day-to-day management. And so the work's progressed on the above basis, setting high expectations, but we have received little in terms of progress reports against stated objectives, and the archives have already been closed to the public for considerably longer than was agreed by resolution. Costings show over £50,000 plus the year-on-year lost income from the Undercroft has already been invested in the project. I feel it would be irresponsible to allow the relocation of the Guildhall archives to continue to swim under the radar, and would like to see a clear project plan with explicit responsibilities stated in the job description. Surely the archives are not of less importance than the museum shop, which is noted in the job description. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina. Do you want to leave your notes or do you want to keep them?
All a bit scruffy. I'll
Yeah.
send a tidy copy. I've
That's
also got lots of the original documents which aren't on the website, which might be useful to people who weren't around at
If
the
it's got
time.
PDFs, that'd be great, I can put them up.
Well, screenshots. I've had to take screenshots of my phone.
Okay,
but-
thank you. I know we do have a couple of people who are actually actively involved in the archiving, including Councillor Ripley. If you do want to say something, that's fine.
Yeah, well, I would like to suggest that anybody who is unsatisfied with the progress being made likes to volunteer themselves, because we could always do
Reasonable.
more volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I don't remember 18 months, because I was under the assumption that it can be at least 3 years. And I think it's progressing well, and she's done all this accreditation work as well.
Yeah.
So she's been a very busy museum manager and archivist, and I'm very sad to see her go. But hopefully when she goes to Maidstone, she'll find our seal of our Magna Carta, which we're missing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the key things from my perspective, yeah, sorry.
Yes, I did, I was going to, and I will make a comment about the job description for the museum manager post, because it did seem to me when I read through them that the archives had somehow got lost in that job description. I don't think the word is used once. So when it comes to discussion,
We can discuss that later.
I will make that point.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. So what I would say is Millie has done a sterling job. She's given an estimate of when the archiving will finish, and I would rely on that estimate. She's well aware of all the concerns and risks that are attached to where they're currently homed. and archiving certainly would be covered in any interview that we have, hopefully with some applicants, but we'll finish up there. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 4. This is HR support provision, and members are asked this evening to receive a report on choosing an HR provider from the 1st of February of next year. Just to give some background, this item was discussed at F&GP committee meeting in November, and their recommendation is included in the report. If I could ask the town clerk to provide a brief summary of the key points, and then we could hopefully have a discussion and go to a vote on this.
I think I did some research on the contract. We have a contract with Peninsula, previous, which is currently running, but the previous town clerk was very not satisfied with it. So she handed in notice. You had to give 6 months notice. She handed in that notice 6 months ago, so that we are free from the contract on the 31st of January. I therefore went out to 3 providers to get a new quote, including these people, because they are one of the big people. So Peninsula, a company called WorkNest, and a small local firm went to the HR committee, which knocked out the small firm as being sort of not robust enough. If somebody was sick or they had HR issues, it would be left open. Took it down to 2. I sort of went back. To be honest, I think the report, I'm sure you've all read it, summarises most of the pros and the cons. My impression, I've never used either of these companies, was that WorkNest appeared a slightly better service, but Peninsula was slightly cheaper. At the end of the day, it really I've never used either. So if anyone's got any other knowledge of these providers that could feed into the discussion, I think my key point at this is that we do need to really make this decision tonight, because the contract, I need to get whatever we choose to do in place so that by the 31st of January, we're up and running with whichever provider the council would like to go with.
Thank you very much. So from a financial perspective, the difference, having done a quick calculation, is that an extra £768 per annum would be paid if we choose WorkNest over Peninsula. But it isn't just about money, because we've got a number of comments in here in terms of quality as well that are being captured from elsewhere. So can I open it up for any comments? Councillor Wells.
Yeah, I think the 3 issues for me is clearly the former town clerk was unhappy with Peninsula. And we had some experience of using them. I mean, the cost, as you say, Mr. Mayor, is 700 and something extra per year if we went with WorkNest. But then there are 2 issues where they do provide extras for no additional cost, which is the personalised advice and the health and safety training. So I think for that increase, it's worth going with WorkNest.
Noted. Councillor Pennington.
Yes, thank you. I support the comments from Councillor Wiles. I think quality of HR management is really important to us. The feedback from Peninsula wasn't great, and so I would support the recommendation that came forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do we have any contrary comments, Councillor Black?
I wasn't going to say anything contrary, but I mean,
it would help to get a bit mixed.
I'll say something contrary if you want. No, it struck me that whilst the public sector in overall terms is not that different, and someone like the existing supplier will have expertise in it, WorkNest are specific to local authorities, which means that they do have immediate access and an immediate affinity for it. And that can be very useful. The other thing is that they seem to have the ability to concentrate on 1 or 2 support staff who we could have continuity, because there's nothing worse than phoning up one day and the next day you get a completely different person. The concern, I've got 2 concerns. One is both will provide an HR portal, but actually we don't use the existing HR portal, and I'm not quite sure, are we really planning to use the HR portal for either of these? And is this something we really want to do?
I really do want to do it because at the moment,
Great.
The employee handbook it exists, but it's not been given out. So what these nowadays, all the employee policies are kept on the portal. That's one of the reasons I liked WorkNest, because they update policies immediately, whereas Peninsula do an annual
Annual
review.
review.
And with all the the employment law legislation which is coming through Parliament at the moment, having that quick turnaround,
Yep.
especially when we've got a lot of new staff coming on,
Yeah.
I think is
Good answer.
definitely
Good answer.
pro point.
The only other concern I had is the notice period seems a bit excessive. 3 years.
All these contracts are for 3 years.
The notice period.
The
Talking
notice
about
period.
notice period.
It says 36-month notice period.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, no, it's not 36-month contract.
Oh, well, okay, that's fair enough, but
No,
right, when it said under the 60-month support agreement.
Sorry, that's my typo.
Oh, okay, well, in that case, I'm a little bit more content.
No, I'm not sure that is the case, because we did discuss it as you
We did.
did being there in the HR committee. I think we did plump for the 60-month contract, because that was a longer one, but it came at a lower cost.
Yeah.
But it does say a 36-month service break clause.
Oh, no, we can break after 36 months, basically.
Oh, I see, so we're
It's
not
not
committed to the
notice.
full 5 years.
Yeah.
If we don't like them after 3 years,
Yeah.
we'd be able to have a
Walk
break.
away.
Oh, that's even better.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Oh, yes, thank you. Then what I want to say, it's not contrary, but it's just stating some facts. Peninsula came into this council when we needed them the most. And we had massive problems with a town clerk, not the previous one, but one before that. And Councillor Franklin and I had to get some professional help to assist with a situation that was occurring in this council 3 years ago. At that time, we did a similar search, and the search that we undertook, the same as the current town clerk has undertaken, brought up Peninsula, and they were the top of 3 providers that were put forward. And at that time, they were the best that we had. Also at that time, I don't know if Councillor Franklin remembers, but the support we had from them was fantastic. And in fact, they assigned a case officer to us who saw us through the whole disciplinary process and assisted us to get to the position where we needed to be. And we got full legal support as well. So that's that. The other matter that I needed to raise was I've spoken to the previous town clerk and this current town clerk now, and the previous town clerk didn't like using Peninsula because she had a friend who was also in the local council HR business, and so the most recent town clerk that we had preferred to use somebody that she had worked with previously. So although we were paying for Peninsula, she went to another provider. That's all I'll say about that. But also, the facts are in here. It's not been used. So Peninsula, I can tell you, in the last 2 years whilst I was mayor, has not been used. The services have not been used. Jill didn't use them at all. And the other evening, asked our current town clerk about our HR provider in the context of recruitment, and the current town clerk said, "Oh, I don't know who they are." So Peninsula, although we've been paying for them all this time, we haven't been using them. And we had this portal called Bright HR, and that hasn't been used either. So I wouldn't want to put any blame factor onto our current town clerk, because she has just come into her role and she's just finding her feet. But can I just say, the town clerk that just left did not use Bright HR, which we were paying for, and did not use the Peninsula company that we were also paying for. So let's not blacklist them, because when we needed them most, they were there for us. Thank you.
So first of all, Town Clerk, would you like to come back on that?
At that point, which was 6-8 weeks ago, you're right, I didn't, but I do now. I have looked into it all quite carefully. I have spoken to Peninsula a couple of times. I have looked at the Bright HR setup. If that is the council's choice, then I can definitely set it up and make it work. It exists. It looks like it will do what we need it to do, if that's the council's choice.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that update, Sophie.
So I think we've got enough information in front of us, hopefully, to form an opinion. And because it is an either or, I'd first of all like to propose that we note the report that we received. Hopefully somebody will second that. Councillor Black, if you could vote that we note the report, and then if we can go to a vote on the choices. So we have two, thank you, and that's unanimous. Yep, thank you. So we've got a choice of two. If we go in alphabetical order, could I ask those councillors that would want to invest the next contract, because this contract's coming to an end with Peninsula, could you show your green cards for doing so?
Oh, sorry,
Yeah, for Peninsula.
for Peninsula. Yeah.
So we have three, okay. Could I take a vote on WorkNest if people could show their cards as well? And that's unanimous. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 greens and 1 abstention, 10 greens and 1 abstention. So choice, Town Clerk, is WorkNest. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 5, and this is recruitment of a museum manager. So this item relates to the recruitment of a new museum manager. Members are invited to note the report and to consider approving 3 separate items. Members are going to be asked to approve a job description for a museum manager. Secondly, to approve a recruitment to be based on the offer of a temporary contract of 6 to 12 months with a intention to that being made permanent if we choose to do so. And then finally, asked to approve the routes that will be used for advertising the vacancy. So we could do those in order and separately. So first of all, could I take any comments on the job description itself? And this has been through the HR committee as well. And sorry, you will be first, Councillor. What I would want to say is the current museum manager has reviewed it twice. So it does reflect her view in terms of what is sensible from her perspective in terms of advertising it. Councillor Anderson.
Yes, yes, thank you for that comment. My encounter with the museum collection is entirely related to its archives. And the archives in the collection are very important. Certainly the ones that I have used in the past and are unique. And I think I'm also of the view that I might be confirmed in this by another councillor, that when it comes to education and training for museum management and for archives management, they are 2 separate branches of the same sort of area concerned with heritage. I do think it's very important that the word archives is included in the role, because in the job description, because as I understand it, Sandwich holds very important archives, some of which of course has gone to Maidstone, but we really do need a skilled archive manager as well as a skilled museum manager, and they're not impossible to find. Something else I was going to say, but I've now forgotten. So I would be delighted if the word archives, oh yes, the other thing that I was going to say is that my use of archives, I've always been extremely impressed by the way in which archivists who run archives are able and willing to support researchers. And that is a very important part of the service. So if we could get somebody who can do both those things, we'd be lucky, but I do think we should be asking for it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miles?
Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Robinson said about the archive, but my memory of this is that at least a year ago, it was agreed that everything in the archive, the collection, the museum should be defined as the collection.
Yes.
So take Britain, for example, perhaps 1% of its collection is on show at any one time, but that doesn't mean it's not part of the collection. So that's covered in the job description. In the opening second paragraph, it says, Sandwich Guildhall Museum holds its collection for the local community, and that's everything in this building and in the attic and in the museum.
Can I come back? Yes, I mean, I take that point and I understand exactly where it comes from and the history. And it was somewhat controversial at the time because it doesn't include the word archives. And this is a job description that is going out there, as it were.
Yeah.
And it needs to be understood by the readers that actually the archives are a very important part of this collection, and therefore it should be mentioned.
So I think it is noted, and when we come to the end of this part of discussion, we can certainly agree or not in terms of including that. Councillor Back.
No, it's Councillor Pennington.
Councillor Pennington, sorry.
Yes, I don't know much about the detail on the background, but what I did want to say is when I approached Millie for help with research on a certain period, which was back in the 18th century, not when I approached research. I was disappointed to learn that the archives were in fact in Maidstone and not in here. And if it's possible to have as much as possible of the archives in Sandwich, that would be a huge help. And I support what's been said about the importance of the archives in terms of the heritage of the town.
Thank you very much. Councillor Black.
Well, what do you want, folks? This is an entry-level job. You said we haven't required the person to be a member of the Museums Association. I strongly disagree with that, by the way, but that's what we'll have. If you want a museum and archivist, that's a different job. And we're paying basic level salaries. I think you're being very optimistic, to put it mildly, to think that you're going to get an archivist as well. The job is about managing the collection and the stores for the collection. If that doesn't include archives, I don't know what does. Having worked in a museum, believe me, it's a generic thing. If you want a primary focus on an archive, you're looking for an archivist, and then you won't have so much in the museum. You've got to get this balance right. If you really want to put the word archive in, but to major upon it, I think we're going to fall between a number of stools.
So, sorry, can I just make a proposal? Because I can see the different things. What I would suggest is we can get very tangled up in what I think is a small but important point. What I would suggest is if we refer to the collection in the job description, we should also mention that that also relates to archives. And I'd be happy to propose that.
Including its archive.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a museum and archive committee.
Yeah. So exactly. So I propose that somebody's happy to second that. Councillor Richard. If we could vote on that, then we can move on to
I haven't had an opportunity
on this particular subject.
on this particular subject yet, because I wanted to support Councillor Anderson, because it's quite unusual. Is the archivist before that we had before Millie brought the archives to the condition that they are now, and today we buried one of our most esteemed archivists, who was actually a volunteer, but they got this place going. And at that funeral, there were 3 doctors there who had all said, what is the state of the archives? And I said, well, they've been sort of like gone sideways currently, because unfortunately we're in this state of re-employment. And they said that's a great shame, because the archives were the crown jewels of the whole the whole of the Guildhall.
So I will come back
We
on that.
need, I think we need to, if you look at this job description, you've got 3 bullet points for the collection, and you've got 12 bullet points for things, for all these other management role type things. I think we're moving this away from where it should be, the job. So I don't think I could vote for this job.
And that's fine, we'll come to a vote in a minute. What I will say, as I said at the start, the job description was drafted by the museum manager, was then reviewed by the HR committee, but then was shared with the museum manager, and it was refreshed. So this represents the job that the current museum manager does. It's a broad role. There's a element of management, there's an element of archiving, there's an element of collection management. All of this captured within the job description. What I would say is, this is not about sidestepping because of recruitment. The issue with the archiving is years old. So I don't want to leave this meeting thinking that the fact that the museum manager has decided to go to a better opportunity has caused an issue regarding archives. That is not the case. I hope that's supported by Councillor Ripley. You've been involved in the archiving itself.
Yes, I have, and I find previous comments quite offensive, bearing in mind the amount of work that had to be done, engineered by Millie, and made sure that it is perfectly done to the right standard, so that we get the accreditation we did, and that was because a lot of hard work's gone into it.
And moving forward.
Yes, indeed.
Councillor Franklin.
A lot of the councillors are quite new. If you go back for only 5 years, this was a voluntary position. Charles Wannistrott, he did all his archives, museum, didn't pay a penny till 5 years ago. We decided to, well, I didn't, the council at the time did, to employ a paid museum manager to deal with the archives. So it's only for 5 years. And I remember when we interviewed last time, because of the salary level, it's just a stepping stone. It's been a stepping stone for Millie, and I think it's what to do. We may probably get someone that's a student, just qualified or been qualified a couple of years. I know it's important to us, but it's important to them, and also I think it's a lovely stepping stone on. But I think that we're going out of it. If you're talking about art, you're going 60, 70, 80,000 pounds a year salary. So it's a stepping stone, and I hope we get a lovely, successful candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Franklin. We're on only the first. Let's make sure we don't beat this to
I have a
death.
constructive proposal, I hope, and I would suggest that the sentence, Sandwich Guildhall Museum holds its collection for the local community. If we could put in to that sentence, holds its collection, both material objects and archives, between commas.
I'm happy to expand my proposal to say that. So Councillor Ripley did second that. So can we go to a vote on just that particular point now, please?
Could I just say briefly, what Councillor Franklin has said though, epitomises the whole situation, is we're never going to get the archives finished. He just said,
Well, we will do
no, if it's a stepping stone, you said it's a stepping stone.
Councillor Carter, we are talking about a job description. Let's please not go down
But
a
if it's a
different
stepping
rabbit hole.
stone, the next person's going to come
not the
in
point.
and be gone.
We need to recruit somebody, and if we argue about job descriptions, we'll never recruit anybody.
No.
So, are we happy to approve a job description with that one additional suggestion, which Councillor Anderson has made specific?
So can I just check the wording? Sandwich Guildhall Museum holds its collection for local community, both material collection and archives.
No, both material collection and archive should go after the word collection. There should be a comma after the word
Comma.
collection. Both material objects and archives, comma, for the local community.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Could we vote on that?
do you want that one in as well?
No, if it comes up once, that's fine. Yeah, if we could vote on that, please. We have a second. Councillor Ripley seconded, and I'm voting on that. We've got one abstention. Thank you very much. Okay, the second one is we've been asked to approve a recruitment to be based on the offer of a temporary contract of 6 to 12 months with a view to that role being made permanent. I suppose the only comment I've got is that 6 to 12 months is difficult to tie down. Is it 6 months or is it 12 months? So, but but I'll open up for comments. Councillor Carter.
I'd like to suggest 6 months would be adequate, I would say, so that it gives somebody the opportunity to see that they can reach a certain position within a shorter period of time. 12 months could put quite a lot of people off. So I'd like to try and get as many people as possible to apply, if that's okay.
Any other comments? Why not? So, Councillor Black first.
I seem to recall we had quite a discussion about the length of time, and that was more because we thought we might need to get an interim person, which is why it was 6 to 12 months at first. Personally, these kind of contracts, 6 to 12 months, are not really very satisfactory from anybody. You have to make a decision, I think, about somebody, and if they're not doing the job, then part company. But if they are doing the job, they keep them on, and then saying, oh, then we'll do a review. It's very old-fashioned poor practice. You should be able to make a proper decision. And that's right, and that's why I wouldn't even waste my time with 6 months. I'd say you make an offer, you have obviously the usual appraisal reviews, and you take it from there.
So just to refresh the conversation, Councillor Black, in the HR committee, it was deemed that if we go for a permanent recruitment, it will take longer. Is that correct, Town Clerk? Was that a suggestion? And if not?
Yes, there was a suggestion about the length of time. We might do something. There might be some people who might be interim. That was one of the reasons for hedging our bets on that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll take some more comments, Councillor.
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, if you want to recruit somebody and they have to wait for 12 months before they know if they're going to be kept on, in my view, that's a deterrent. It has to be 6 months. Any responsible manager should be able to make their minds up after 6 months, probably 3, in fact, if the person is going to be reliable in the longer term. So I definitely support 6.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, would somebody be happy to propose that we advertise it on 6 months with a view to permanency?
Indeed, happy to propose 6 months.
Second, Councillor Moorhouse, and vote on that. That's 1 abstention, 2 abstentions. Okay. And the third one is members are asked to approve the routes that will be used for advertising the vacancy. All I would say, I'm not trying to lead the conversation, but when I looked through, the costs of those that we have to pay for are, in my view, whilst money is very important, very small. So unless somebody would like to dispute that, I'd be happy to propose that we accept all the avenues that are suggested, because the actual cost is £150.
I'll be happy to second that.
Yeah. Vote on that. Really sorry.
I'm not convinced the Arts Council website is worthwhile. The others, yes, and I've had obviously a bit of professional input from a contact of mine. All of the others absolutely first rate, but Arts Council website, that's a very, very long straw, a very short straw on it, you know.
But it is free.
It's free.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That was my point.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. If they come through that, we can all.
You could rub my nose in it, can't you? And you would enjoy that.
So yes, can we vote on that? So we've got, I propose it, seconded Councillor Carter, and we vote that we adopt all avenues.
Sorry, so who,
Well,
so
I was
proposed?
going to say, why don't we put it in the Town Council magazine?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, who proposed?
And Facebook and websites.
Proposed?
I proposed it, Councillor Carter seconded it, and it was unanimous. Thank you. The only thing that isn't included, I suppose, but I think it's really important, is how long we would run the recruitment scheme for. Do you have a view, Town Clerk? Because I do, as others will.
I think we should not let it hang too long. I think get it out, I think start off, I would suggest starting off. But then there's an argument, do we do it now so people have got time to look over Christmas? Or to do it after Christmas? I don't know.
Councillor Black.
May I make a suggestion? Is you might want to try phoning Leicester University, who after all are the people that train museum and archivists, and just get a view from them. Just speak to one of their staff and say, what's the best sort of time? Because I suspect over the Christmas and New Year period, it will be pretty dead. But, you know, phone them up, and if you're really stuck, I think I still know the university secretary.
Okay.
If you're really stuck, I'll see if I can
Thank you
speak
for
to
that.
Tony if he's still there.
And even if we do end up deferring it till the start of January, I think we should run it until, for at least 3 weeks.
Yes, but I think a month and
month.
then let's
Yeah.
go.
30th of January would be the date, if we start after Christmas.
And for Leicester and ask them what their view would be.
So is the proposal to take advice from Leicester, and if they don't say anything, we'll start on the 30th of December?
If they say to you that it's best not to advertise it over the Christmas period, then defer it until January, but to run it to the 30th of January.
Yeah.
If they say there's no reason why you shouldn't do it now, then do it now, and maybe you can call back a week to the 23rd of January.
Okay.
Okay?
Is there a timetable for closure of the period for advertising, for applying, and then for selection?
We'll be able to set the times. Do you mean in terms of advertising it?
No, I mean in terms of appointing.
Well, it really does depend on the candidates and their current circumstances.
Yeah, their notice period,
Yeah.
depend on their notice.
My guess, Councillor Ungerson, is when I did a quick tot up in my head, is that we won't get anybody until at least the end of February.
No, but, and having that date in view for the selection committee. And
We will do, yeah, we've got time to do that. It will be a couple of weeks after the closing date of the advert. Councillor Carter.
Happy to second the proposal that was put forward.
Okay, and who votes on that? That's green as well, unanimous, thank you very much. Okay, so I note that we have Christina here with us and filming, so to avoid moving to the in confidence item as part of this meeting, I would like to propose we defer that until after we have the STBF discussion, if somebody's happy to second that.
Second.
Councillor Carter, if we vote on that. Thank you very much. So, the last item on the agenda before we come back to this meeting later is the next meeting of the Town Council, and that's on Monday, the 26th of January at 7 p.m. So, that is ended. Do you want to keep the... Close off. So we're going to close down the video and then restart it.